Welcome back to Shark Bait, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of entrepreneurial dreams. I'm JohnE.Avocado, and today we're diving into the heart of what makes a pitch successful. Our entrepreneur, Johnny Rowlands, is gearing up for the Pitch a Shark competition at the BTBY Work in Progress Experience, and it's time to start crafting the perfect pitch.
Today we're going to start getting into the meat of it because we're really going to start talking about what it is that we're going to have to do to convince them. Now, there are some criteria about the pitch competition, so I'll go over that real quick here.
Okay.
And then that way you'll know what it is. Now, Kevin Harrington does this quite a bit, and there's a bit of a formula he likes to see because you only get 90 seconds, so they kind of like to have it come to him. And you usually try to, if somebody tells you they have a formula, you want to follow it and then try to maybe just find the right place to deviate, but don't deviate the formula, be additive to it. And the reason being is because, people, some of it is, a lot of this is a psychology we talk about putting yourself in front of them and how you're going to get the most out of it. People anticipate what's going to be said next or what's going to happen next, and they get a dopamine when they're correct. And then they also get a dopamine when they're wrong. So it doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong, it's the anticipation of the expectation of what's next to come. And so if you can follow along with what their structure is, they're going to be, instead of confrontational wonderment, they'll be, it's just going just like I think. And you'll kind of lull them into that sense of security, right? That's what we're looking for. So if somebody gives you a structure, you want to follow it. And this is what Kevin's is. Kevin's likes to see tease, please, and then seize. So tease is an attention-grabbing problem. He wants to know that it's a problem for people, and it needs to be a problem that grabs people's attention. And so frustration, being in your pool, you want to really quickly and easily be able to, in any product or any service, what is the problem that you're solving? And so in our pitch, we need to be very clear what that problem that we're solving is. And you discussed it. We talked about it actually off camera when we were kind of leaving last time. A lot of it's the frustration. That's really what you're selling here. The benefit, and we'll get into benefits and features here in a minute. The features are what makes it be what it is. The benefit is what you get out of it. And people buy and we sell based on benefit. Features supportive, benefits why we're going to buy. So the benefit is the frustration, right? The features are it attaches easily, real quick to do, makes it simple for you. But the benefit is it gets rid of your frustration.
Yeah,
that's what we're selling.
It's killing frustration.
So your tease is going to be the attention grabbing problem, which is frustration around pool ownership, particularly with the weight. The next one is please. We're going to show the solution. How do we please the customer? How do we please you as a potential investor? Why is this a good product? How is this going to solve that problem? And through your quick pitch, we're going to talk about frustration and the things that you can do to solve frustrations and how your product does it. And I really like the idea of you just attaching it while you're doing your 90-second pitch, because my gosh, who could show it easier to end your frustration right here than, well, I'm just talking to you in less than 90 seconds, I put it on there. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so he's looking for tease. It's got to be an attention grabbing. It's got to be an attention grabbing problem. The second one, please, you got to show the solution, right? We got to really quickly and easily show the solution. And the third one is seize. What's an irresistible offer? Why are they going to want to be a part of this? Now, the reason that I want you to maybe bring up the wives or to bring up the humor or to bring up a little bit of self-depredation is not to bash on you, but to make yourself personable. And I want you to skirt that line. Now, the thing about people remembering and knowing things, the psychology of how we keep things in our brain and what we keep when we go to sleep at night is a pretty easy formula. Say you were a student at school and you went to school and you had a biology teacher who had a really interesting biology class and you caught stuff on fire or dissected an animal or something, and it really had an impact on you. Well, normally, if you would go to sleep at night, you would forget most of the time that you spent walking in the hallway and talking to your friends or what you had for lunch, but you remember dissecting that frog or the new chart that was colorful or whatever that the teacher really brought a story and made it potent and potential for you to really remember it. Now, normally you would remember that, but say right before you went to bed, your family got in a car wreck and somebody almost died. Well, you'll have a big dopamine spike. You'll get a big emotional spike. And when you go to bed that night, you're not going to remember probably much to do with the biology class. You're going to remember all of the emotion, all of the chemical that was dumped into you in those memories in that car wreck. And this is what I need you to be. I need you to be the car wreck that they survive. You have to stand out in this 90 seconds in the way that nobody else does. And I know that the thing that every inventor, and I want to point it back to my product. But I'm telling you, you're not selling a product here today, Johnny.
You're right, and I understand.
You are doing a pitch. It's a performance. It's to grab their attention, and it's to get them to have a further conversation with you.
And I think that I couldn't agree more. And I see the merits of the whole wife thing. I mean, I think I came up with the idea, but I just want to explore if there's another way to do that.
Oh, certainly.
That would be as powerful, because what I'm having trouble with is being able to tie frustration into being married 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think you could, and what the marriage thing is the grabber, right? I mean, it's the thing that's going to go, where's this guy going? I could say, what I'm having a hard time with is, and maybe I'm just putting too much emphasis on the emotion of, and I know that it's important to give them something that they can relate to that would explain why and this is the exact same emotion from a frustration standpoint with this that you would have if. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you don't have to. So they're all 4 smart men. You're not going to have to spell it out so much for them. Mm-hmm. When you say, I was very frustrated with whenever I would push and it would pull, much like my first relationship with my first wife, that is just enough. That's enough inference. These guys are all men. Everybody in the room will quickly understand the dynamic between people and that relationships don't work out, and push and pull is a very...
And see, I just don't know. I don't know.
So what you do is you talk about the push and pull, because you're not going to be able to explain to somebody that it lifts up off, it doesn't have the suction and numbers or percentages. You're just going to have to give somebody a simile about what that frustration is like. And I'll be honest with you, Johnny, I really can't. I'm hard pressed to think of something that would be more direct than really you talking about your wives like this. I mean, wow, there's some other things I could come up with for some other people, but for you, man, I can't think of something that would be just so easily. And not that you have to, if we could explore other options, but don't be uncomfortable with it in thinking that you have to either explain it more. You just have to make a reference to it. It's just like name dropping.
I guess what I'd really like to brainstorm about is, how can we, because you're right, and one of my concerns about this is I don't know how I could possibly explain what people are frustrated about. So how could we make it so that explaining that is immaterial? But then, the please part, is basically, what if there's a way to completely eliminate that frustration? But
if you have the right product, the right tool, the right whatever, then you can solve all these frustrations and all these problems in one shot. And that's the C's. This is your opportunity to buy into a product that solves all those problems.
I get. Would it be? I'm not. This is an argument. This is a nice discussion.
Oh, absolutely.
Good dialogue. So, would it be prudent to develop it out further as far as the thought process to come up with a similar frustration that people could more readily? I mean, obviously, pool owners are going to understand this. So when you're talking to pool owners, it's a different story. All the pool owners out there, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But Joe Schmo, who, and part of this too is this is a product that they may really have no interest in. I guess that they specialize in understanding it doesn't matter if they have interest in it, other people do. And I don't know if that's when you say, you talk to any pool owner, they'll tell you, that the vacuuming their own pool is one of the most frustrating things that can happen. And and basically, you don't even have to say what it is, but you can say, they will tell you there's one thing that drives them nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And do you ever have to really even explain why?
No. You don't have to explain how the product works. You just have to explain, especially in the 90 seconds. You either need to come in and you need to show a problem in a way that everybody will completely understand it and the solution within that 90 seconds, or you need to make a simile so that people will understand the level of frustration and the buy-in. Now, the reason that I like where we're going here with this is because everybody's been in a relationship. Everybody feels that frustration. If you start to make similes to other frustrations, then you have run the risk about whether or not people have bought into those frustrations themselves.
Sure.
I mean, so we could try, like if we want to do a visualization, we could kind of think, even like if you even try to do like pancakes or something, like you were trying to talk about cooking pancakes and then not sitting flat or sticking like they were supposed to. If we try to come up with all these other physical metaphors that might show what you're physically doing in the product, you're going to spend all your time trying to do something that I don't think that you're going to be able to do in 90 seconds.
So the wife thing would be,
and you could close with my solving pool owners' frustrations and saving marriages for 2 years or whatever. And so take it humorous. Don't take it dark with the ladies. Don't go deep with it. It's just an off the cuff comment that, man, I was frustrated. Had I not been so frustrated, maybe that marriage would have worked out. Man, had I done a better investment with my money instead of the way I solved this problem, maybe that would have worked out. You're just trying to find that common thread where every time somebody goes, oh, I can see how that's frustrating. Everybody knows a woman.
So we're just trying to establish the level of frustration.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily telling them what the frustration is.
That's it. I need them to feel as frustrated as you are when you. I mean, another thing you might do, if we want to go another radical approach, is you kind of come off as the surfer vibe, rather than try and in the laid back guy. I mean, I really like the persona that you are. We could tie into that the pool cabana boy instead of trying to go with the frustrations of your wives. Maybe the frustration is I'd rather be doing other things in my life than jacking with this pool. You could talk about instead of being frustrated over the pool, you'd rather be drinking a Mai Tai or or a fuzzy drink or listening to the music or swimming in the pool or hanging out with the kids. You could maybe start to develop a frustration of fear of missing out. I'm missing out on this and I'm missing out on that. That it could bring people to an equivocal level of frustration, maybe, to really express how they would be. Because when people miss out, they get frustrated. I like the idea. And especially if you're already going to have one out there and put one on, you could pantomime that vacuuming, just like when you vacuum. How would you like it if somebody picked it up every time you tried to pull it back? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't get very far, would you? And so you could kind of show that off. And I wouldn't dismiss the idea of talking about your wives or whatever in the midst of this, but that might be a great way to pantomime the frustration and the problem and express the problem. Because what you need to do, because you can't put on a presentation. So what happens with when you put on a presentation, you've got information for them. And then when you speak, you have additive information. So the problem that you have here in your 90 seconds is that you only get one avenue of information. And what I want for you to have is multiple avenues of information. And so if you can do a demo or a pantomime while you're giving your pitch, that's just more information for them to consume, and that's what I want them to have. I think that is because you do want to demonstrate that what the product is and what industry it's in. So the story alone, you're right, is not enough. We need to explain and tell what it is. But even if they don't own a pool, you want them to be able to emotionally get to that level of frustration, at least make an association with it.
And see, and I could do that via delivery. I said, imagine if every time you were doing your carpet, somebody picked it up off the floor. Mm-hmm. I mean, that happens to pool owners every day. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly frustrating. Mm-hmm. You pull back, push, and
so when you come in with your solution, which is the investment opportunity that they want to seize on, is that your solution very simply, very cheaply, and very easily solves the problem.
So that lifting off the vinyl, however you want to put it, literally doubles the time it takes you to vacuum the pool.
Yep.
And so using this, you cut your time in half. But I'd like to talk about how, sure, they have weighted heads, but they don't work.
Yep.
and they don't solve the problem. And now you got to go out and buy a specific new head.
Mm-hmm.
How about if you could make the head you've got now
work perfectly?
perfectly?
And it works. It's a universal. It works on all of them.
Yep.
And you're going to talk very quickly because let me get
Sure.
into the other part, because there's more to what we want to make sure we present and there's within the Q&A. So that's the setup. That's the formula that he wants to see. Now here.